Let me tell you about the day I took my son to court and won. My name is Evelyn Cole. I'm 79 years old. The judge looked my daughter-in-law, Amanda, right in the eye and called her lies what they were. But that victory came at a cost. It started with a whisper in a crowded restaurant, a whisper that felt like a slap. Before we begin, drop a comment below with your country and what time it is right now where you're watching, whether it's sunrise in Nairobi, midnight in Australia, afternoon in Canada, or evening in France. I want to know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't just sit back. Tell me where in the world you are. Now, let's dive into the story. It was Tuesday, dinner at the Oak Grill. My son David picked the place. It was too loud. I was holding a gift, a silk scarf, blue like her eyes. I thought Amanda might like it. She leaned over the breadbasket. Her smile was plastic. She whispered so only I could hear, "You're not family, Evelyn, not tonight." The words were so cold, like ice down my back. I'm 79. You'd think I'd heard it all. But this was different. This was my son's wife. I looked at David, my boy. He stared into his water glass. He didn't look up. He didn't say a word. His silence hurt more than her whisper. I stood there, holding that stupid scarf. Everyone kept eating, fork scraping, polite coughs. They all pretended not to hear. My face was hot. My hands were cold. I did what I always do. I stepped back. I nodded like I understood, and I walked away. Outside, the air was wet. It smelled like rain and city dirt. I hugged my coat. My hands shook. Not from age, from shame. I just got kicked out of a dinner I helped pay for? The bus stop felt like a mile away. Streetlights blurred. Was it my eyes? No, just tears. I wiped them fast. They don't get to see me cry. My house is on Wisteria Lane in Crestwood. The porch light flickered. It's been doing that. The bulb's loose. The ladder's heavy. My balance isn't great. I fumbled with my keys. Inside, it was quiet. It smelled like lavender, my Henry's favorite. He's been gone 10 years. He'd have been furious tonight. He'd have said, "Don't you shrink for anyone, Evie." But I did, for years. I hung my coat. I sat at the kitchen table. I didn't turn on the big light, just Henry's little lamp by the sink. Its glow was soft, kind. I looked at my hands, veiny, thin skin, but they're strong. These hands held my baby boy. These hands cooked 1,000 meals. These hands worked double shifts. I thought of all of it, school projects, baseball games, saving for his first car. The night he broke his arm, I held him. I thought of his wedding day. Amanda was beautiful, sharp. I told myself, she'll warm up, give her time. I was a fool. She never warmed up. She got colder, harder. Tonight wasn't about a scarf. It was about David, his silence. He let her say that to me. He didn't move. There's a quiet that screams. His quiet screamed all the way home. I took the scarf out of my bag. I put it on the table. The wrapping paper was too cheerful. I smoothed the wrinkle. At 79, you see people clearly. The truth was simple. They didn't want me. Not really. Not anymore. I made tea. I watched the steam disappear. That's me lately. Disappearing. Slowly. Quietly. But something clicked inside me tonight. Not breaking, not sadness, a calm, hard feeling. I've allowed too much for too long. I washed my cup. I dried it. I went to bed. But first, I looked at that scarf. I didn't feel hurt. I felt clear. There comes a time when you stop waiting to be treated well and you start demanding it. That time was tonight. I turned off the light. The dark felt okay. This wasn't an ending. It was a start. The phone rings early the next morning. It's Amanda. Her voice is sweet as poison. She says, "Evelyn, I've taken care of everything for you." The call came at 9 a.m. Amanda's voice was bright, fake, like a bad actress. "Evelyn, good morning. I've taken care of a few things, for your own good, of course." That phrase, For your own good. It made my stomach drop. I knew what was coming. Amanda only does things that help Amanda. What things? I asked. My voice was flat. She chattered about safety, about support, pretty words, empty words. You shouldn't be in that big old house alone, she said. It's not practical. David and I want to help. You need to think about the future, Evelyn. Everyone your age does. Everyone your age. A little dig, a suggestion. You're old, you're slipping. I'm 79. I know what I can do. My body is slow. My mind is sharp. I can still slice through nonsense. But I listened. I always listen. It's my habit. She talked about paperwork, bills, bank accounts, making things simple, she said. Then she cut to the point, the real point. And the house, she said sweetly. You should put David on the deed for protection so you don't worry. I sat down. The kitchen chair creaked. Why now? I asked. She sighed, a loud, dramatic sigh. Evelyn, you've been forgetful. The dinner date, you got it wrong. We're worried. My face got hot. I didn't forget. They lied. They changed the date, and now it was my fault? That's how she works. A little twist, a small lie. It cuts deep. I'll think about it, I said. She sounded thrilled, like she'd already won. Wonderful. Talk soon. Click. I held the phone. I looked out my window. My maple tree was losing its leaves, bare branches. Things fall apart. Trees, bodies, families. That afternoon, David showed up. No call. He never does that. This was Amanda's move. He stood in my doorway, hands in pockets. He looked tired, older than 45, like a man who's given up. He wouldn't look at me. He looked at my couch, my lamp, the lemons in my bowl. Mom, he said, Amanda told me you talked. She's just worried. Lie number 1. We want to help manage things so you're not overwhelmed. Lie number 2. Paperwork is tough at your age. Lie number 3. He sat. He tapped his foot. He checked his watch. He was a messenger, not a son. I knew the difference. He waited for me to say yes. I let the silence hang. I'll handle my own things, I said. My voice was quiet, solid. He blinked. He wasn't ready for that. It's just temporary, he stammered. Amanda thinks... I know what Amanda thinks, I said. He shrank. For a second, I saw my little boy, the shy one, the one who hid behind my legs. That boy was gone. This man let his wife decide his mother didn't matter. He left quickly. His smile was thin, a stranger's smile. I closed the door. I leaned on it. My house felt different. The air was heavier. There's a moment you realize something. People think your kindness is weakness. I felt that moment land on me like a heavy coat. I made tea. I watched the sky get dark. I wasn't scared. I wasn't even mad. I was ready. Something bad was coming. Amanda was at the center of it, smiling, planning. I'm old, but I see you, Amanda. I see you just fine. And I'm not done. A formal letter arrives. It's from a clinic, an appointment for a cognitive assessment. Someone scheduled it for me. The letter came on Tuesday, stiff white envelope, my name in perfect print. It looked official, cold. I opened it. Cognitive assessment, functional capacity review. Big words, scary words. At the bottom, a clinic name, a fancy one, Amanda's kind of place. My heart hammered. She scheduled a test to see if my mind works, without asking me, without telling me. She was building a case. Evelyn is forgetful. Evelyn is confused. She was painting a picture, an old, frail woman, a woman who needs to be taken care of, a woman who needs to give up her house. I stood in my kitchen. The fridge hummed. 79 years, and my own family was doing this. I sat. I read the letter again. Concerns have been raised. By who? Amanda. Observed forgetfulness. When? The dinner she messed up. Anger bubbled, but I pushed it down. Anger is a waste. I made a decision. I would go to this stupid test, not because she told me to, but because I'm not afraid. I put on my coat. I took the bus. The clinic was all glass and shiny metal, no warmth. Inside, it was too quiet. A woman with a tight smile said, "Mrs. Cole, we've been expecting you." I wanted to laugh, expecting me, like I chose this. They put me in a gray room. A young doctor came in. She was nice, professional nice, not real nice. She asked me questions. What day is it? Who's the president? Count backwards from 100. Easy stuff. I answered everything. But I felt sad, so sad. Not because the test was easy, because someone thought I needed it. Someone wanted to prove I was broken. I thought of Amanda, probably at home waiting, smug. The doctor asked more. Can you pay bills? Can you cook? Yes, I said. Then I added, but other people can make you seem fragile even when you're not. The doctor paused. She looked at me, really looked. Has someone said you can't live alone? I told the truth. It felt good. My daughter-in-law. I'm in her way. The doctor's eyes got soft. You seem very capable, Mrs. Cole. I am, I said. After she walked me out. We'll send the report to whoever scheduled this, she said. I nodded. I hope things get better at home, she said. I didn't answer. Home, what a funny word. Outside, the wind was cold, sharp. I walked to the bus stop. I wasn't angry. I was certain. Amanda had declared war, and I finally knew what the war was about. It wasn't about my memory. It was about my money, my house, my independence. She wanted it all, and she thought I'd just hand it over. She thought I was weak. She thought I was scared. She was wrong. I felt the cold wind on my face. Let the storm come. I'm ready. David comes over. He's not alone. Amanda is with him. She's carrying a stack of papers. She smiles. Let's talk about your future, Evelyn. They came together on Saturday. Amanda's knock was loud. A bang, 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 not a knock. I opened the door. There she was, in a coat that cost too much, smiling her razor blade smile. David stood behind her, a shadow. Evelyn, she chirped, we need to talk. She didn't wait for an invite. She walked right in, like she owned the place. She marched to my kitchen, her territory now. I followed slow. Slow steps show strength. They show you're not afraid. She dropped her bag on my table. Thud. She pulled out a pile of papers, neat, clipped together. David and I want what's best, she said. Her voice was syrup. We've had papers drawn up to protect you. I didn't touch them. I just looked. She talked fast, nervous fast. It's just joint ownership for the house so David can help, and joint access to your accounts for emergencies. It's simple. It's safe. My heart was a rock in my chest. Joint ownership, joint access, that meant giving it away, giving everything away. I looked at David. He studied my floor. He wouldn't look at me. What do you really want, Amanda? I asked. My voice was quiet, steady. She blinked. The smile flickered. We want to help. No, I said. You want my house. You want my money. You want me out of the way. Her face went red. The sweet mask melted. Don't be dramatic. This is for the family. I am the family, I said. This is my house, my life, my choice. She leaned forward. Her eyes were hard. If you don't sign, she hissed, things will get hard. Court petitions, more evaluations. We can prove you're not competent. A threat, a real one. I looked at those papers. I imagined signing them, giving away my home, my security, everything Henry and I built. I thought of him, his strong hands, his proud smile. Don't you bend, Evie. I pushed the papers back to her, gently, firmly. No.
The word hung in the air, small, powerful. Amanda's mouth opened, closed. She snatched the papers. David won't like this, she spat. David is 45, I said. I'm not his mother tonight. She stormed out, her heels cracked like gunshots on my walkway. David looked at me, just for a second. His eyes were full of shame and something else, fear. Then he followed her. I closed the door. I locked it. The click was the best sound I'd ever heard. My hands weren't shaking. My breath was even. She woke something up in me, something that had been sleeping for years. Let her try. Just let her try. I can't sleep. I stare at the ceiling. I know what I have to do. In the morning, I call an old friend, a lawyer. His name is Arthur. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling. The dark felt different. It wasn't scary. It was full of plans. Amanda's words bounced in my head. Court petitions, evaluations, prove you're not competent. She wasn't playing a game anymore. She was drawing a line in the sand. By morning, my mind was clear. I knew what I had to do. I couldn't fight this alone. I needed a soldier. I needed someone who spoke the language of law. I needed Arthur Grant. Arthur was Henry's best friend, a lawyer with a heart, but a will of iron. I hadn't seen him in years, not since the funeral. My hands shook as I dialed his number, not from fear, from hope. He answered on the second ring. Evelyn Cole, his voice rumbled, like warm gravel. To what do I owe the pleasure? I need help, Arthur, I said. It's David and Amanda. I didn't have to say more. He sighed, a long, understanding sigh. Come to the office, today. His office was in an old brick building downtown. The stairs were steep. My knees complained with every step, but I climbed them, one by one. This was my mountain. Arthur was waiting. His hair was whiter, his glasses thicker, but his handshake was strong. Sit, tell me everything. And I did. The dinner, the whispers, the clinic letter, the stack of papers, the threat. I told it plain. No tears, just facts. Arthur listened. His face got harder as I talked. When I finished, he took off his glasses. He rubbed his eyes. You're gaslighting me, Evelyn, he said. The word felt strange. They're trying to make you doubt your own mind, to make you seem unstable. It's a classic play. He leaned forward. She wants your house. She's creating a paper trail to get it. The truth of it hit me like a truck. It wasn't just mean. It was a strategy, a cold legal strategy. What do I do? My voice was small in the quiet room. Arthur opened a drawer. He pulled out a fresh notepad. We fight fire with concrete, he said. We build a wall they can't climb. We protect everything, your house, your money, your rights. We put it all in a trust, an ironclad, irrevocable trust. He explained it. The trust would own everything.
I would control the trust. No one could touch it without my say-so. Not David, not Amanda, not a judge, unless they had real proof I was gone in the head. It's your shield, Arthur said, your legal shield. But David, I started, he'll hate me. Arthur's eyes softened. Evelyn, right now, David is letting his wife try to legally steal from his mother. Your job isn't to make him like you. Your job is to survive. He was right. I felt it in my bones. The last bit of hope for my son crumbled. This was about survival now. Okay, I whispered, then stronger. Okay, let's do it. Good, Arthur said. A fierce smile touched his lips. We'll start today. We'll gather every document, bank statements, tax returns, the clinic report. We'll build a fortress, and then we'll wait. Wait for what? I asked. He put his glasses back on. For her to make the next move, and when she does, she'll run straight into our wall. I left his office feeling different, lighter and heavier at the same time. I had a plan. I had an army of one. I looked at the gray sky.
Let it rain, Amanda, I thought. My foundation is poured. Arthur's words are still in my ears when I get home. There's a car in my driveway, a rental. A man in a suit is taking pictures of my house. The car was sleek, silver, a rental by the sticker. The man was young, sharp suit. He held a big camera. Click, click, click. He was photographing my house, the peeling paint, the old fence, the flickering porch light. My blood ran cold. This was it, the next move. I walked up the driveway, my grocery bag heavy in my hand. "Can I help you?" I asked. My voice didn't shake. He jumped, guilty. "Oh, Mrs. Cole, I'm with Thompson Home Inspections. Just a routine check for the family." A lie, so smooth. "Who hired you?" I asked. He shifted. "I believe it was a Mrs. Caldwell, your daughter-in-law, said you were considering some renovations and needed an assessment." Renovations, assessment, more pretty words. She was documenting the decline of my property, proof the poor old lady lived in a crumbling house, proof she needed help. "I'm not considering renovations," I said, looking him right in the eye, "and no one has permission to inspect my home. You're trespassing. Please leave." He blinked. He wasn't used to old ladies with backbones. He stammered an apology, got in his car, and left. I stood in my driveway shaking, not from fear, from rage. She was violating my space, my home. I went inside and called Arthur immediately. "She sent a home inspector," I said. "Good," Arthur replied, startling me. "Good? How is that good?" "Because now we have proof of her campaign," he said. "It's harassment, intimidation. We add it to the file. Every single thing she does makes our case stronger. She's digging her own legal grave, Evelyn. Let her dig." He told me to buy a small, cheap notebook. Write everything down. Date, time, what happened, the inspector, the phone calls, everything. It's a diary of her aggression. Judges love diaries. So I did. I bought a blue notebook. On the first page I wrote, "October 12th, 3:15 p.m. Unknown man photographing house. Said Amanda hired him." The act of writing it down made me feel powerful. I was not just a victim. I was a reporter, a historian of my own war. 2 days later, the phone calls started. Not from Amanda or David, from strange numbers. "Hello, is this Evelyn Cole? This is Senior Living Advisors. We understand you're looking for assisted care options." "Hello, Mrs. Cole. This is Premier Estate Law, calling to follow up on your inquiry about asset transfer." I got 3 calls in one day. Amanda was flooding my world with help. She was creating a paper trail a mile wide, trying to prove to a judge that I was seeking all this, that I was confused and asking for help. After each call, I wrote it down, time, number, what they said. I felt like a spy in my own life. It was exhausting. It was terrifying. But that blue notebook was my weapon. Every entry was a bullet. That night I made tea and looked at Henry's picture. "It's getting dirty, Henry," I whispered. "I'm so tired." I almost called David. Almost. My finger hovered over his number. The little boy who loved dinosaurs. The man who abandoned me. I put the phone down. I couldn't. The bridge was burned. All that was left was the fight. The official-looking envelope arrives. It's not from a clinic. It's from the county courthouse. My hands are steady as I slit it open. The envelope was thick, cream-colored, formal. County Superior Court was stamped in the corner. This was it, the big one. I opened it at the kitchen table, under Henry's lamp. Petition for appointment of temporary guardianship. The words screamed up at me. She was asking the court to declare me incompetent, to give David and Amanda control over me, my money, my health, my home, my life. A hearing date was set, 3 weeks away. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was real. This was a legal earthquake. I read the reasons.
Subject exhibits memory lapses. Subject lives in disrepaired property. Subject is resistant to necessary care. Subject is vulnerable to financial exploitation. Every line was a lie built on her little twists. The final blow? The petition included a declaration from David. I read his words. I love my mother, but I fear for her safety. She is not the woman she was. She refuses help. I support this petition to protect her. His signature was at the bottom, a perfect, sharp signature, no hesitation. That signature broke something final in me. The last thread of hope snapped. My son had signed a paper asking a judge to lock me away. I put my head in my hands. I didn't cry. I was past crying. I was in the deep, cold water of reality. I called Arthur. "It's here," I said, my voice flat. "The guardianship petition." "I expected it this week," he said, no surprise in his voice. "Okay, now we go to war. Bring it to me tomorrow. We're filing our response, and we're countersuing." "Countersuing?" I asked. "For what?" "For intentional infliction of emotional distress, for abuse of the elderly, for harassment. We're not just playing defense, Evelyn. We're marching onto their field." The next day, in Arthur's office, I signed my own papers. My response to the court was a simple, powerful line. "I, Evelyn Cole, am of sound mind and body. I reject this petition in its entirety." Then I signed the lawsuit against David and Amanda. My hand was steady. The pen felt right. Arthur also had a surprise. He had subpoenaed the clinic. He had the full report from my cognitive assessment. He slid it across the desk. The conclusion was highlighted in yellow. Patient demonstrates high cognitive function, clear reasoning, and independent living capacity. No deficits noted. I almost laughed. Amanda's own weapon had blown up in her face. "This," Arthur said, tapping the report, "is our silver bullet. She scheduled a test to prove you're senile. It proved you're a rock star. The judge will not be amused. We had our plan, our evidence, our wall." As I left, Arthur put a hand on my shoulder. "The hearing is in 3 weeks. They will throw everything at you. They will try to make you look crazy, emotional, confused. Your only job is to be you, calm, clear, certain. Can you do that?" I looked out his window at the city below. I thought of my quiet house on Wisteria Lane, my lavender drawers, Henry's lamp. "Yes," I said, "I can be me, finally." The night before the hearing, I can't sleep. I walk through the dark, quiet house, touching the memories in the walls. I am ready. The night before the hearing, the house was too loud with silence. Every creak was a thought. Every shadow was a worry. I didn't try to sleep. I got up and walked. I walked from the kitchen to the living room. My fingers trailed over the back of the sofa where David used to nap. I touched the faint crayon mark on the doorframe from when he measured his height. I stopped at the hall closet, still full of Henry's old coats. I buried my face in one. It smelled like dust and faintly like him. I was saying goodbye, not to the house, but to the life I thought I had, the life where I was a mother, a grandmother. That life was already gone, killed by papers and signatures. Tomorrow, I was just Evelyn Cole, a woman fighting for her right to exist on her own terms. I made tea in the dark. I sat at the table. I wasn't afraid. I was resolved. Arthur's words played in my head. Be calm, be clear, be you. I could do that. The me they were going to see tomorrow wasn't the soft grandma who bent. It was the woman who built a life with Henry, the woman who balanced budgets and fixed leaks and held her family together with sheer will. That woman was still here. She just got quiet for a while. The sun came up, pale and cold. I put on my best dress, navy blue, simple. I did my hair. I looked at myself in the mirror. An old woman stared back, but her eyes were sharp, clear. "Okay, Henry," I said. "Let's go." Arthur met me on the courthouse steps. He looked like a knight in a suit.
Remember, he said, they have drama, we have facts. Facts are heavier. We walked in together. The hallway was chaos, people arguing, crying, whispering. Then I saw them, Amanda and David with their lawyer. Amanda was in a severe black suit, a court costume. David was pale, swimming in his shirt. He saw me. His eyes widened, then darted away. He looked sick. Amanda gave me a look. It was pure, hot hate. No more sugar, no more pretend. Good. I preferred honest hate to fake kindness. We went into the courtroom. It was smaller than I thought. Wood panels, a flag. The judge's chair was tall and imposing. My stomach flipped. Arthur patted my arm. Breathe, just breathe. We sat at a table on one side. They sat at the other, like a wedding gone wrong. The judge entered. We all stood.
He was an older man with a tired face and keen eyes. Judge Harvey. He looked like he'd seen it all. Petition for temporary guardianship of Evelyn Cole, the clerk announced. The air got thinner. This was it, the war in a small, quiet room. Amanda's lawyer stands up first. He smiles at the judge. He begins to tell a story about a poor, confused old woman. He calls his first witness, David. The lawyer's name was Mr. Reed. He had a voice like slick oil. Your Honor, he began, this is a sad but necessary case. We are here today out of love, out of concern for Mrs. Evelyn Cole, a woman who is sadly losing her grip on reality. I kept my face still, a stone. Her son, David, Reed continued, has watched his vibrant mother decline. He's seen the forgetfulness, the confusion, the unsafe living conditions. He's tried to help, but she refuses. She's become paranoid, hostile. We are here as a last resort to save her from herself. He called David to the stand, my son. He swore on the Bible. He wouldn't look at me. Reed led him through the story, their story, the mixed-up dinner dates, the clutter in my home, my anger when they offered help. David's voice was a monotone. He recited the lines Amanda had taught him. He was a puppet, and everyone could see the strings. Then Arthur stood up for cross-examination. He didn't approach the stand. He just stood by our table, quiet and calm. Mr. Cole, Arthur said, you say your mother is forgetful. Can you name one medication she takes? David blinked. I'm not sure. Can you tell me the name of her primary care doctor? David shifted. Dr. Miller, I think? Dr. Miller retired 5 years ago, Arthur said gently. It's Dr. Chen. If you're so concerned about her health, why don't you know her doctor's name? David's face flushed. Amanda handles that. Ah, Amanda. The dinner where your mother was confused, did you yourself ever call her to confirm the date and time? Amanda handled the invitations, David mumbled. So you never spoke to your mother about it. You just assumed she was wrong. David was silent. The judge watched, his pen poised. Arthur picked up a document. This is the report from the cognitive assessment your wife scheduled for your mother. It concludes your mother is of perfectly sound mind. Did you read this report, Mr. Cole? David looked at Amanda. She gave a tiny, sharp shake of her head. No, he whispered. You signed a petition claiming your mother is incompetent, but you didn't read the report that proved she was fine. Arthur's voice wasn't loud. It was deadly quiet. David looked at the floor. I trusted my wife. The 4 words hung in the air. The truth. He trusted his wife over his own mother, over truth, over me. No further questions, Arthur said. He sat down. David stumbled back to his seat, a broken man. The first battle was over. We had won.
It's Amanda's turn on the stand. She straightens her jacket, puts on a face of pure concern, and prepares to lie to a judge. Amanda walked to the stand like she was going to accept an award, chin high. She swore to tell the truth. The lie was already in the air. Her lawyer, Reed, led her through a performance. She was the devoted daughter-in-law, worried sick. I just want her to be safe, her voice trembling on cue. She described my erratic behavior, my hoarding. She made my quiet life sound like a scene from a horror movie. Then Arthur stood. He took his time. He walked slowly to the stand, holding a file. "Mrs. Caldwell," began Arthur, "you claim Mrs. Cole's home is unsafe. Have you ever personally seen her leave the stove on? I have concerns. Yes or no, please." "No." "Have you ever seen her fall, get lost, be unable to pay a bill?" "No, but—" "You scheduled a home inspector without her knowledge, correct?" Arthur pulled the photo from his file, the inspector's report. Amanda's eyes flickered. "For her own good. The house is old." "You also scheduled a cognitive exam without her knowledge, the one that found her perfectly competent." "Those tests can be wrong," Amanda snapped, her sweetness fading. "You've called multiple agencies, senior living, estate lawyers, impersonating Mrs. Cole or suggesting she called them, haven't you?" "That's not true." Her voice rose. Arthur pulled out my blue notebook. He read entries, dates, times. He showed the call logs he had subpoenaed from the companies. The links were clear. A pattern, a campaign. Amanda's mask was gone. Her face was tight with anger. "She's a stubborn old woman who doesn't know what's good for her." The judge's gavel cracked. "Counsel, control your client." The judge looked at Amanda with distaste. "You will answer the questions, Mrs. Caldwell, not editorialize." Arthur saved his best for last. "The ultimate goal was to get Mrs. Cole to sign over her house and assets to you and your husband, wasn't it? It was for joint management, for simplicity." Arthur placed the transfer of joint tenancy document she'd brought to my kitchen on the rail of the witness stand. "This gives your husband immediate control."
Did you ever tell Mrs. Cole that once she signed this, you could sell the house without her permission? Amanda was silent, seething. "Your Honor," Arthur said to the judge, "this isn't about care. It's about a house on Wisteria Lane. It's about greed." He sat down. Amanda was excused. She stormed back to her seat, her perfect composure in ashes. The truth was out, naked and ugly for the judge to see. The judge calls a recess. In the hallway, Amanda glares at me, her whisper a venomous hiss. "You'll regret this." Arthur leans over. "Now it's your turn. They're going to ask you questions. Just tell your story." The hallway was tense. Amanda's threat hung in the air like poison. David stared at a water fountain, a statue of shame. Arthur handed me a cup of water. "Your turn, Evelyn. Just talk to the judge like you talk to me. Tell him about your life. That's all." When we went back in, the judge called my name. "Mrs. Cole, you may take the stand." I stood. My knees were stiff, but they held. I walked the few steps. I swore on the Bible. I sat. The judge's eyes were kinder now. My lawyer, Arthur, asked the first soft question. "Mrs. Cole, can you tell us about your home?" I took a breath. I looked at the judge, not at my enemies. "I've lived on Wisteria Lane for 48 years, I began. My voice was clear. It didn't shake. My husband Henry and I bought it as a fixer-upper. We painted every room. We planted the maple tree in the yard when my son David was born. That house, it's my life. It's all my memories." I talked. I talked about balancing the checkbook every Sunday, about my recipe box, about tightening the porch light bulb myself. I talked about the clinic appointment. I went because I wasn't afraid of the truth. The truth was I was fine. The report says so. Then the lawyer for the other side, Mr. Reed, stood up. He tried to be tough. "Mrs. Cole, isn't it true you're overwhelmed, that a big house is too much?" "It's the right size for my memories," I said. "You've been hostile to your family's help." "I've been hostile to being stolen from," I replied. The judge almost smiled. Reed pushed. He tried to confuse me with dates, with details. I answered everything, calmly, clearly. He couldn't trip me up because I was telling the truth. Finally, he sighed. "Mrs. Cole, this trust you created, it locks your son out of his inheritance. Doesn't that seem cruel?" I looked at David then, really looked. He finally met my eyes. "This isn't about inheritance," I said, my voice breaking just once. "This is about my son trying to put me in a cage before I'm even gone. I locked the door to protect myself because the people who should have been protecting me were trying to break the door down." The courtroom was silent. You could hear a pin drop. Reed had no more questions. I stepped down. Arthur stood for his final argument. It was short. "Your Honor, this is a simple case of a woman protecting her home from a predator. The petitioner's own evidence exonerates Mrs. Cole. We ask you to deny this petition in the strongest terms." Then it was over. The judge said he would rule after lunch. The longest wait of my life. We wait in a silent conference room. An hour passes. Then a clerk appears at the door. "The judge is ready." This is it. The clerk's words felt like an electric shock. The judge is ready. Arthur gave my hand a quick squeeze. "Remember, no matter what, we fought well." We filed back into the courtroom. My heart was a drum. Amanda looked pale but defiant. David looked hollow. We all sat. The judge entered. We rose, then sat again. The air was thick enough to choke on. Judge Harvey put on his glasses. He looked at his notes, then he looked at us. "In the matter of the guardianship of Evelyn Cole, I have reviewed the petition, the testimony, and the evidence." He paused. A lifetime passed in that second. "The burden of proof in these matters is heavy. The petitioners must show clear and convincing evidence that Mrs. Cole is unable to manage her person or her estate. They have not met that burden." A tiny gasp from Amanda. David slumped. "In fact," the judge continued, his voice hardening, "the evidence shows the opposite. Mrs. Cole is sharp, capable, and organized. The cognitive report requested by the petitioners themselves confirms this." He looked directly at Amanda and David. "What the evidence does show is a pattern of pressure, harassment, and bad faith. The attempt to use this court as a tool for financial gain is not only transparent, it is reprehensible." I stopped breathing. Arthur's hand was a steady pressure on my arm. "Therefore," the judge said, and the word rang like a bell, "the petition for temporary guardianship is denied, dismissed, with prejudice." With prejudice, it meant they could never file it again. But he wasn't done. He fixed Amanda with a stare that could freeze fire. "Furthermore, I am issuing a warning. Any further legal action against Mrs. Cole of this nature without extraordinary new evidence will be considered malicious prosecution. This court is not a weapon. Do you understand?" Amanda nodded, a tiny stiff movement, utterly defeated. "Case dismissed." The gavel fell. Crack. It was over. We won. Completely. Totally. Arthur let out a long breath, a proud smile breaking across his face. "You did it, Evelyn." Across the room, Amanda grabbed her purse and fled without a word. David stood. He looked at me. His eyes were full of a world of pain, shame, regret, loss. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Then he turned and followed his wife. I didn't feel joy. I felt a deep,
quiet settling, like a ship that had weathered a terrible storm and finally found still waters. It was peace. Arthur walks me out into the afternoon sun. The world looks the same, but everything is different. "What now?" he asks. I know exactly what I'm going to do. The sunlight outside the courthouse was blinding. It felt like the first day of a new world. Arthur walked me to the curb. "What now, Evelyn?" he asked. I took a deep breath. The air was cool, clean. "Now," I said, "I go home and I live my life." I thanked him, my voice thick with an emotion I couldn't name. Not happiness, gratitude for his belief in me. The bus ride home was quiet. I watched my town pass by. The park where David played, the library where I worked. It was all still there. My history was still mine. It wasn't tainted by them, not anymore. When I got to Wisteria Lane, I stopped at the gate. My house, mine. No liens, no threats, no shadows. I walked up the path. I touched the rough wood of the porch railing. I climbed the steps. I didn't feel tired. I felt strong. Inside, the quiet welcomed me. It wasn't lonely anymore. It was peaceful. It was my quiet. I hung up my navy blue dress. I put on my soft old sweater. I went to the kitchen. I did a simple, powerful thing. I took Amanda's stack of papers, the joint tenancy documents she left in my kitchen weeks ago, from a drawer. I didn't shred them. I didn't burn them. I placed them gently in the recycling bin. They were trash. That's all they ever were. Then I took my blue notebook, the Diary of the War. I put it on the shelf next to Henry's old law books, a history, a record of the time I stood up. Maybe someday someone would need to read it. I made tea. I sat at my table. I called no one. The silence was a friend. I had fought the battle. I had protected my castle, and now I could rest within its walls. A week passed. Then a letter came, not from a court, from David. My hands trembled as I opened it. It was short. "Mom, I have no right to say anything. What I did, what I allowed, there's no excuse. I lost myself. I am so ashamed. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know that I know what I did. I'm sorry. David." I read it 3 times. I felt nothing at first, then a deep, dull ache. Not the sharp pain of betrayal, the ache of a permanent scar. I didn't cry. I put the letter in the drawer with my recipes. I didn't know if I would ever answer it, and for the first time, that uncertainty didn't tear me apart. It was just a fact. Some broken things stay broken. Seasons change. The maple tree in my yard loses its last leaves. I watch it from the window, a cup of tea in my hand. I am alone, and I am perfectly, completely okay. Winter came. The maple tree stood bare against the gray sky, a skeleton of its former self. But I knew a secret. It wasn't dead. It was just waiting, gathering strength deep in its roots for the spring. I was like that tree. My life looked bare from the outside, quiet, an old woman in a quiet house, but inside I was stronger than I'd ever been. The roots of my courage went deep now. I started doing things, small things. I joined a book club at the library. I volunteered one morning a week at the community garden, helping with the planting schedules. My hands in the dirt felt good. I made a friend there. Her name was Rose, a widow like me. We had tea sometimes. We didn't talk about our families. We talked about books and roses and the annoying price of tomatoes. One afternoon, I was in the hardware store buying a new washer for the leaky kitchen faucet. A man my age with kind eyes and paint on his jeans saw me struggling to find the right size. "Here, let me help." His name was Walter. He was a retired engineer. He fixed my faucet that Saturday and stayed for coffee. It wasn't a romance, it was companionship, laughter, someone to share a crossword puzzle with. It was a new branch on the tree. I never heard from Amanda again. A part of me expected one more letter, one more nasty trick, but it never came.
The judge's warning had been a wall even she wouldn't climb. David's letter remained the only word. I never replied. The silence between us became its own kind of answer. It wasn't angry, it was just over. One day, Arthur called, just to check in. "You're a legend at my office, you know," he chuckled. "We use pulling an Evelyn Cole to describe a client who stands up and wins against impossible odds." That made me smile wider than I had in years. My life was small, and it was entirely mine. I woke up when I wanted. I ate what I liked. I left my knitting on the sofa. The house was messier, more lived in. It was no longer a museum of the past. It was the home of a woman who was very much alive. The greatest gift was the quiet in my own head. The fear was gone. The dread was gone. The constant worry of being a burden, of being in the way, of being not enough. Gone. In its place was a steady, humming calm. I had not just saved my house, I had saved myself. Spring arrives. Tiny green buds appear on the maple tree. I stand on my porch, looking at my world. I think about the word family, and I realize I've finally found mine. Spring came softly. One morning, the maple tree was covered in a haze of tiny bright green leaves. New life. I stood on my porch with my morning tea, watching a robin pull a worm from my lawn. The world was waking up, and so was I. I thought about the word family. For so long, it meant David. It meant heartache. It meant duty and disappointment. But that was a cage of a definition. My family wasn't a cage anymore. My family was Rose from the garden, who brought me soup when I had a cold. My family was Walter, who taught me how to weather strip my windows to save on heat. My family was Arthur, my knight in a suit of legal briefs. My family was me, the strong, capable, stubborn woman I had forgotten lived inside the gentle grandmother. I was my own family, and that was enough. More than enough. That afternoon, I did something I'd been putting off. I went into David's old room. It hadn't been his room in 30 years, but I still called it that. Boxes of his childhood things were in the closet. I took them down, not with sadness, but with curiosity. I found his old baseball glove, a ribbon from a science fair, a clay ashtray he made me in second grade. I smiled. I remembered the boy, not the man. I packed the things I wanted to keep into one small box, the ashtray, a photo of him on his bike. I labeled it David Then. I put it on a high shelf in the hall closet. The rest, old trophies, moldy posters, broken toys, I put in donation bags. I was not erasing him. I was making space for me. As I carried the bags to the curb, I felt no guilt, only lightness. The past could stay in the past, where it belonged. The present was my porch, my tea, my tree, my friends. That night, Walter came over. We made pasta together. We talked about maybe taking a day trip to the coast when the weather warmed. The house was full of the smell of garlic and the sound of easy laughter. It wasn't the sound of a family I was born into. It was the sound of a family I had built, a family of choice. Later, after Walter left, I sat in my living room. Henry's lamp glowed softly. I felt him with me, not as a ghost of loss, but as a warm memory of love that taught me how to be strong. I looked around at my walls, my things, my life. I had gone to the edge of losing everything. I had stared into the abyss of being powerless, of being defined by someone else's greed. And I had stepped back. I had planted my feet. I had said, no, this is mine. My story isn't about revenge. It's about resurrection. It's proof that it is never, ever too late to take back your life, to redefine your family, to find your voice and let it roar, even if that roar is a calm, steady no in a quiet courtroom. You deserve your own porch light glowing steady in the dusk. You deserve your own quiet peace. Don't let anyone, not even someone you love, tell you otherwise. Protect your space. Honor your spirit. Your story isn't over until you say it is. And that, my friends, is how the quiet grandmother from Wisteria Lane won her life back. This story was never just about a house, it was about home, the home we build inside ourselves. That home is sacred. Guard it. If this story meant something to you, if you've ever felt small or pushed aside or underestimated, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Let's spread stories of strength. Subscribe for more tales of courage you won't hear anywhere else. But most importantly, leave a comment. Tell me where you're watching from and what you're fighting for in your own life. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Remember, no matter your age, no matter your storm, your roots are deeper than you know. Stand your ground. Find your people. Build your peace. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of my world tonight. This is Evelyn Cole signing off from Wisteria Lane. Good night and be brave.